Many airlines stopped flying to Israel after October the 7th and after the Israeli genocide in Gaza began. Now, with the airlines, usually they buy slots. They buy slots in every airport they want to go in. So they will have their designated slots. And sometimes they need to wait for a very long time to get these slots. There's something happening with some of the airlines and major airlines, British and Turkish too. They're saying we're actually, you know what? We don't want these timelines. We don't want these slots, and we're not going to go back to Israel. So there was this report in Israel today saying that some of these airlines are completely canceling anything to do with Israel. They're not going to go there anymore, and they're not projected to go there anytime soon. And Israel is saying at least up until the end of 2025. But based on these moves and them giving up their slots in the Israeli airports, they're signaling that actually we were not going to go back there at all. Number one, Turkish Airlines. Of course, Turkey cut all ties with Israel. They stopped flying to Israel since the beginning. Tensions have been very high between them and Israel. Pegasus and Virgin Atlantic from Britain too, saying that we're not going to fly anymore to the Ben Gurion airport, even if there's a ceasefire. So we're talking about, developments and potentially having a deal, a slight de-escalation. Some of them are done. This is something that hurts Israel very badly. Why? Because you're talking about major airlines that bring a lot of tourism to Israel, and that doesn't send good signals for anyone abroad towards Israel. If major airlines stop flying there, that means this place is unattractive for tourism. This place is unattractive for investment. The fact that this is coming after Moody's, one of the biggest credit rating companies in the world, rating companies in the world in terms of finances and economy, downgraded Israel twice. Israel is now only one level above investment worthy, according to Moody's, with a negative projection for the future. It makes Israel a very, very bad place. Not attractive for tourists, not attractive for investments, not attractive for anyone to go to visit. And these airlines, but with this move, they're also not being very hopeful for the future. Now, the final thing that I wanted to talk to you about, more countries are having official ties with Israel, with Palestine, with the Palestinian Authority, recognizing a Palestinian state, developments coming from European countries, recognizing Palestinian statehood, having ties, opening ties, having more aid, giving more aid to the Palestinians. Now, we'll begin with Norway. Norway, this was reported on TRT Global, formally opens diplomatic ties with the state of Palestine. The Palestinian ambassador presents credentials to Norwegian King Harald in Oslo amid mounting war crimes accusations against Israel. Norway and the Norwegian king as well. Israel criticized them, and many people in Israel criticized them heavily for their position in relation to Palestine. And now they're taking this to another level. But of course, it wasn't just Norway. Now there are changes as well coming from countries globally, France, for example. But funny enough, Britain now is slowly moving towards that direction. Now, the British Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, he hosted the Palestinian leader as government unveils 101 million in support, 101 million British pounds in support. Foreign Secretary and Mohammed Mustafa signed a memorandum of understanding outlining their commitment to advocating Palestinian statehood. Palestinian statehood. This is a development coming from Britain. Now, of course, Britain officially calls for a Palestinian state, a two-state solution. And now they're saying, okay, we're going to have more aid in. The British Prime Minister was talking about, the suffering in Gaza and the bad situation in Gaza. And it's some of the typical talk that comes from the British leadership. But there's something very important here, especially in relation to Britain. Now, Britain talking about, and when we say Britain as in the British establishment, of course, there's a gap between the British people and the British establishment. But when the British establishment talks about Palestine, it's a bit of a different story than other countries talking about Palestine. And the reason is, well, Britain was the country that started this problem, didn't they? There was the Balfour Declaration in 1917. Then, of course, there was what was labeled at the time the British Mandate in Palestine following the collapse of the Ottoman Empire. And at the end of the day, it was under the British rule that Israel established itself as a state. Most of the funding that came for the state of Israel came from Britain or people in Britain. And Britain has a much greater responsibility towards Palestine than simply recognizing a Palestinian state or sending 101 million in aid. This is not enough, and this is not addressing the key issues here. Of course, any progress is welcome, anything positive, good, great. However, there are key issues. Number one, Britain as an establishment must acknowledge the historical mistakes in Palestine, from the Balfour Declaration up to allowing the Zionist gangs who used to kill British troops in Palestine and whom Britain at the time used to proscribe as terrorist organization when they stole the land of Palestine, all of that era. They need to immediately stop all arms to Israel unconditionally. And don't just tell me 10% and 20% and 90%. Everything, all security and intelligence support to Israel. We've seen many revelations about over 200 reconnaissance missions over Gaza, British intel support for Israel. The British Prime Minister himself, Keir Starmer, he was legitimizing the starvation of Gaza back in 2023. We shouldn't be forgetting all of these things. And finally, what Britain must do as an establishment and as a state is the thing that is most necessary now. Britain, if Britain is genuine, and we're talking about the British establishment here, if it is indeed genuine about having a solution for the Palestinian people and for the Israeli people too, call for the one and only solution. A one democratic state with equal rights between the Palestinians and the Israelis throughout all of the Palestinian territories, between the Jordan River to the sea, where everyone, regardless of their faith or race, can live in equality and peace and be granted equal rights. If Britain is genuine about a solution, if any other country is genuine about a solution, this is the solution that they need to be talking about. No more talking about a two-state solution. This illusion of a two-state solution isn't really possible at all now. Israel annexed most of the West Bank. The situation on the ground makes it almost impossible. And everyone views Palestine as the historical Palestine. Therefore, you call for the solution that works for everyone, simultaneously, whilst taking action to stop the genocide machine and the supremacist Zionist regime that has been committing these crimes since 1948.